Here's a flip through of my sketchbook for the Brooklyn Art Museum Art Library sketchbook submission. I decided to do something on collaging because I never did collaging before. So these are my first attempts at collaging. The cover is made of a poured acrylic, and I was able to alter the cover to put the painting on it. It's on the front and the back. And then my title of my book is called Mrs. Plum's Cake Bake. Yeah, Linda A. Lavid. That's the ticket. Open it up, and here's my first one, my first collage. Took a picture from an old book, and then I have some stamping from a foam sheet, and then some writing. So I started out very simply, and that's my first page. So I approached this, everything I did was for the first time, and I made notations on the page to say what I did, to remind myself. This is the second page. These are pictures from old books that I found in my attic when I bought a new house. And then these colored ones are from a collage, from my own paintings. I cut them up and made more of a collage pieces out of them. Did some stamping, and I colored the page with, I think, woody crayons, watered down. And again, I have notations about that. Oops, we forgot a page. This page is made up of pieces of baby wipes that were used for my painting, for cleaning up my paintings. All the images on this page were from the books, the old encyclopedias that I have that are over 100 years old. And then I have some faces. I really liked how the faces turned out, and I'm going to use that technique again. So this is something I just was playing around, and I came up with that, and I like that. So I'm definitely going to use that again. This is again from the old book, but this was a cookbook that I found, and it was just kind of figuring out how to put things on a page. And this is an old painting, old woman painting, portrait by Evelyn de Morgan. And what I did was I took the picture and I sent it off to make a stamp of it. So you'll find a lot of this in my work, because I just love that picture that she painted. Evelyn de Morgan was a painter during the Victorian times. And I started gessoing the pages, and I just fell in love with gesso, so I use gesso now for everything. This was a collage I did with, first I did some doodle pages, and then I cut them up and put them as the background page, and then I added old paper that I found, old illustrations, and then I made another stamp of this dancing girl. So I have that stamp, and that is a recurring theme. Again, I put notations through each page. This is completely an old book. The back pages and the major focal points. Now what I did do here is I put all my stamps of women on here. So these are more modern. Some of my paintings, some of Evelyn de Morgan's here. I don't know who did this painting. I'm not sure if that was Evelyn de Morgan, but I got a stamp of that. So I made like 6 different stamps, some of my work and some of other people's works. And here's that girl again who's dancing. I did woody crayon backgrounds and some stamping and stuff. Next one was, the pages got very thick when I started gessoing both sides, which I really like. This was just trying to do vintage, and my least favorite page. I did try to do different things. Here is a transfer. One of these is a transfer, and one of these is on tissue paper. Can't remember which one. And I took notations of things. I did white writing and black writing to see how they turned out. So this was really truly experimentation. I'm not sure what I learned from this, so I was kind of disappointed with this page. This page was I did some monoprints one night. I had some people come over and we all monoprinted. And these are all the monoprints that I cut up into small pieces and made things out of. Not made things out of, but kind of designed a base. This is multiple pieces of the paper. And then I cut them a certain way so there's some shading. And this was like a torch or something. And then I put some washi tape on that. It's kind of cool. So that's monoprinting. So I learned about monoprinting. This was done with Citra papers in the background, and then I did some my own washi tape. I did stamping, and then I made my own stamp of this guy, and I put, so that's my own stamp that I made. This turned out pretty interesting, I think, and we'll definitely use some of these techniques again. These pages are, again, I'm using the baby wipes, but I love the colors on this. They're all jewel tones. And then some of the old-fashioned papers. I had some stamping. I put in Piper. She's my paper doll character that I'm gonna use her for other paintings. I have birds that came as an illustration in the really old books. One of my favorite things I did was this piece here. It was the girl that was stamped onto a very old piece of a book. Actually, this wasn't that old of a book, but I like the way that looks. So I like the little white space with the writing and the unusual text. I thought that turned out nice. So when I look at this, I look at certain parts of it. Like I love the elephant, and then I love this bird. This is another piece of paper that I cut out, and I put it under the bird like a perch. So every time you do this, you learn something a little new about yourself and what you're interested in. This is another pretty colors I like. This is more of a modern or abstract painting. I just did some lines and different colors, and I stamped the edges so it looks all kind of distressed. This paint was, this one with collage was watercolor that I outlined. I did some doodles on, and I had a focal point here, but it didn't turn out well, and I was very unhappy with it. So I decided to try to fix it up, so I got my dancing girl and I put her on a sheet of paper and I just put it on there. I think it's really interesting because you don't really see the girl. You'll see the color first, and then your eye travels down to the girl. So that gives it some interesting, visual interest. When you see something and you don't see it until you actually look at it, and that's what happens here. A lot of collaging it's all visual. It's all, kind of a visual experience. This is like really basic collaging, and I hadn't done anything really basic. The back sheets are all one sheet. They're jelly prints. And then this is a transfer. This is actually a piece of paper. And then I switched out the borders. After I did it, I didn't know what else to do with it, so I just kind of left it. It's kind of boring, but it's a certain style some people might like, or I don't know. This one was interesting. This is something I did, I'm getting closer to the end. A big mixture of old and new. These are Carla's fish bits, and there's more fish bits down here. There's the stamp that came with the fish bits. There's some of her paper that she sent me. I think that's her paper. And then there's the old illustrations. Here's an old illustration. Here's an old illustration. This is Carla's bits. So this is a real mixture of old and new. And when I saw this, I came up with this is a woman's world, and this is a man's world. I do make commentary on the sidelines, but I can't read it now because I'm trying to do the video. I can only do one thing at a time. This is just more of the pretty colors. These are watercolors with some inks, and then I did 2 transfers. This is a transfer of a picture onto newsprint, and this was a picture that I put over a chapter heading. That's why it says 17 there. And then I started doing these my own writing. It looks Japanese or Chinese or something, but I do that myself. It's just my own scribbles. This is my second last one. This has some fish bits in it. These are the fish bits. These are old, these are new photographs. I take photographs and I put them on tracing paper, and I put them through the printer, the laser printer, and they're really cool. Tracing paper is a very, very interesting piece of paper to use. It's much stronger than tissue paper and more translucent than vellum. So a lot of things you can do with this, and they make great transfers. And I'll be doing some videos about that, and I'm going to have a class about that at Mrs. Plum's Art Emporium. And I like this kind of like, these are my girls that I have stamps made out of, and I have Carla's fish bits. There's different writings, different languages. These kind of turned out nice. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I like it. Oh yeah, this is New York City and New York State. New York State is a beautiful state. Well, New York City is a beautiful city as well. Now this is my last page, and so we have 4 Klimt women. They're all the same, and then I mounted. These are all on tracing paper, and I put them all down and did different things with them. This one I colored with gelato. This one I put over a stamped. The paper had been stamped with some purple stuff. Here I did some lines on her, and I named the lines. And then this one was, I did some more gelato, and I put hair with the newspapers. And so it's, my last page is just my language, thank you, and it's just another